Oh, yes. This is from Politico, of all places. Patrick Leahy, the other nut senator from Vermont, asked the State Department to investigate Israeli human rights violations. Senator Patrick Leahy and 10 House members have asked the Obama administration to investigate claims that the Israeli and Egyptian security forces have committed gross violations of human rights, allegations that infuriated Israel's leader, but if proven true, could affect U.S. military aid to the countries. The Democrat Party. What a crap fest. In a letter to Secretary of State John Kerry dated February 17, the lawmakers list several examples of suspected human rights abuses, including reports of extrajudicial killings by Israeli and Egyptian military forces. Where did they get this information from? No doubt these left-wing nutjob agencies or organizations. Or maybe from the Islamo-Nazis themselves, may I say. Or forced disappearances in the case of Egypt. Maybe the Israelis and the Egyptians should file complaints about the way our government handled Benghazi. What do you think of that, Mr. Producer? The letter also points to the 2013 massacre in Egypt's Rabat Square, which left nearly 1,000 people dead as the military cracked down on protesters, as worthy of examination. Leahy's signature is particularly noteworthy because his name is on a law that conditions U.S. military aid to countries on whether their security forces are committing abuses. Now, Israel is the target, if you saw Levin TV the other night, is the target of these blood-curdling, genocidal maniacs who run these countries who are member states at the United Nations. And Israel is the only country targeted by the UN for mistreating women. Did you know this? Did you know this, Mr. Producer? Israel. Not China, not Zimbabwe, not Russia, not a single Arab country, not Cuba, none of them. Israel. Maybe it's because they hate, how shall I say, Jews. And we subsidize that entity. Now, forget about the UN. We have Patrick Leahy and 10 coconuts in the House. I don't know who they are, I can guess. We're very concerned about not just Egypt, but Israel and how they're treating people. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu issued a sharp response to the letter today, defending his security forces, whom he said protect the innocent from bloodthirsty terrorists who come to murder them. He said this letter should have been addressed instead to those who incite youngsters to commit cruel acts of terrorism. Patrick Leahy's spokesman, David Carle, C-A-R-L-E, downplayed Israel's inclusion in the request, noting that the Vermont Democrat has always said that the law that bears his name should be uniformly applied. Term limits, anybody? This is why United States senators should be selected by state legislatures, not by the people through populism, because we live in a republic, you see. A republic. It's not supposed to be, by plebiscite, if you will. The majority are not supposed to decide whether you have unalienable rights or not, We cannot have mobocracy, as Aristotle called it. Oh, Aristotle, he must have been an elitist. Aristotle? What are you reading Aristotle for? We got modern stuff like websites. Mobocracy? Well, what the hell are you talking? Oh, no, this is grassroots populism. What do you mean mobocracy? What are you, an elitist? I love to hear that from elitists. People who go to Ivy League schools, nothing wrong with that, go. Or who are very wealthy, nothing wrong with that. I don't have a problem with that. But now they're pointing out the elitists as if they're truck drivers, As if they're janitors. It's hilarious.